DATV, and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters present Meet the Candidates, your chance to learn about the candidates running for office in the November election.
Hello, I'm Sandy Williams with the League of Women Voters from the Greater Dayton area. I'm here today with candidates running for the office of Dayton Commission. There are 4 candidates running for 2 open positions. Those candidates are David Ezrati, Matt Joseph, Chris Shaw, and Shanice Turner Sloss. Okay? We'll start our interviews today by asking each candidate to tell us a little bit about themselves and how it is that they came to run for this office. And what we'll do is start with Dave.
Hi, I'm David Ezrati, and I am running for Dayton City Commission because I think it's time that we had a change in this community. Back in April, the FBI and the Department of Justice arrested some individuals and said we are operating under a culture of corruption. And if you don't believe that, you have been asleep at the wheel. You've seen a lot of money go to rich developers downtown and not too much to the people in the community and the neighborhoods. We've been told that all kinds of things are going to happen, and one of the things these 2 incumbents claim they're going to do for us is give us leaf collection out at the street. Well, we had that already. So you really have to wonder what is happening in the city of Dayton. And I think it's time for a change. I've got a lot of great progressive ideas, including making RTA free. Instead of giving the money to the rich developers, let's give it to the people. We already pay for RTA. RTA, most of the money comes from federal tax dollars. A lot comes from a sales tax. It's time to help poor people get to restaurants, get to jobs, get to medical appointments, get to grocery stores, which we have a severe lack of in our community. So it's time for a change. It's time to invest back in the community. It's time for leadership that actually listens to you and questions things instead of just nodding their head and in the affirmative and saying, we're going to go ahead and do this. We've torn down buildings. We've given money to developers. We've bought buildings that we had no public use for and then handed them over for $10 to a developer and said, that's progress. That's not progress. Thank you.
Okay. And then with Matt Joseph, could you tell us a bit about yourself and how it is that you happen to be running for candidate?
Sure. My name is Matt Joseph. Currently on commission. I really enjoy being a commissioner. I have to say, though, the last few years have been pretty tough. I've been proud to work as part of a team that has faced these tough times. We've made the tough decisions necessary to keep the city going. We've done all this trying to keep the future of the city in view, the 20-year and 30-year and 40-year long-term future of the city. So now, as things are turning around, the biggest reason I have for wanting to be a commissioner again, wanting to stay on the commission, is that I want to be part of the rebuilding. We've started to turn things around the last 2 or 3 years. Things have started to get better. Not for everybody yet, but they will. And I think that the decisions that we make in the next few years are going to shape Dayton for the next 50. So I want to be part of that, and I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. And then next we'll go to Chris. Chris, could you tell us a little about yourself and how it is that you came to be running for this position this year?
Sure. I'm Chris Shaw. I'm a current Dayton City Commissioner. I'm a lifelong resident of Dayton and a business owner here. Have owned a business in Dayton for several decades, including the one I run now, which is my family business that's been here in one of the most distressed areas of Dayton for almost 110 years. Chose to stay in the neighborhood to help rebuild it, and that's what we've been doing for the last several years on the Dayton City Commission. I'm very proud of the work that we've been doing, to connecting folks with jobs and opportunities to build up their skills so that we can attract companies to our city and grow our economy in that way. So I'm very proud of the work that we've been doing over the last several years, and I want to continue to do that work. There's a lot to do, connecting folks with apprenticeship programs and things like that, and very excited for the future of Dayton.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. And then Shanice.
Yes.
Could I ask you to tell us a bit about yourself and also how it is that you happen to be running for this position, how you decided to do that.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank you as well for being here, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum for us, the opportunity to, if you will, present our case as to why we should be elected as the next City of Dayton Commissioner. Again, my name is Shanice Turner-Sloss. I too am a lifelong resident in the City of Dayton. I am a mother, a wife. I am also an advocate in the community and have been for quite some time. And I'll tell people quite honestly, I am a former City of Dayton employee, hence the reason why they don't want me to run. Because of my knowledge, because of my experience in knowing the inner workings of government. We have treated this position as if it is a symbolic position, with true, and let's be honest, that it is in fact a entrusted position. And Dayton residents deserve a commissioner who is willing to implement and is committed to implement clear processes, transparency and accountability, as well as accessibility. And we really have to move forward, and it takes new innovative thought to do so. And we need to make sure that, again, we're having those progressive ideas to really move the City of Dayton forward so that there is equal opportunity and accessibility for all residents, regardless of their skin color, their economic status, or their educational background. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to state this question, restate it for each candidate, okay? So you'll hear it a number of times, okay? Matt, Dayton has had an incredibly tough year with the Ku Klux Klan rally, tornadoes, and the shootings in the Oregon district. Of all these things, what did Dayton do best? And what would you improve in your position as Dayton Commissioner?
That's a very good question. We have had a tough summer by any measure. I think that what I'm most proud of is the quick reaction of city employees. I was walking this weekend in a neighborhood that was hit by one of the tornadoes, and I heard from neighbor after neighbor that after a long night of trees falling and roofs coming off, they fully expected it would be days before they'd be able to get out on the streets, that before the trees that were blocking the way and the wires would be pulled out of there. But they were thoroughly amazed and happy that our city employees, our city workers, were out before the dawn, and by noon that day they were able to drive on their streets. The wires had come, the DPNL workers had come, that trees had been picked up. Obviously there was still a lot of debris around, but they were able to get started on rebuilding right away thanks to the dedication, the quick reaction of city workers. And I think in all these cases, whether you're talking about the unfortunate shooting, we had police officers on the scene reacting very quickly. And I think that shows that our employees are prepared even when the worst happens, and I'm very proud of them for that.
Okay, thank you. Chris, I'll restate the question. There's been a lot of attention, Dayton had an incredibly tough year with the Ku Klux Klan rally, tornadoes, and the shootings in the Oregon district. Of all these things, what did Dayton do best? And what would you improve as a Dayton commissioner?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it has been a very tough year, and I'm most proud of, again, the preparedness of the city to react across every department. Folks stepped in to work for the city to pitch in and do the work that was required to get us to a satisfactory conclusion of all of those events, actually. Very impressed with the staff and how willing they were to jump in. But again, it speaks to the preparedness. The police department, the fire department, public works, they all train for these kinds of events. And it's evident in the response, both with the police during the shootings, police and fire during the shootings, but also during the tornadoes, just to be able to come in and jump right in and bring the services required, bring the service to bear to help the citizens, which I'm most proud of. Being able to see the citizens of Dayton react, come together to help each other. It's what cities are supposed to do. Contrary to that, I mean, there are some issues that we could do better, some things that we could do better. Communicating better with the citizens about what we do and how we plan. For instance, the Klan rally. You know, we spent a significant amount of money to prepare for that, significant amount. And we got a lot of pushback, but it's evident that there was a gentleman in the audience that day that wound up being the shooter in the Oregon district. And he was armed. So I think we made the right decisions. It's important that we communicate a lot of those kinds of things to the citizens. That's what we could do better.
Okay, Shanice. Dayton's had an incredibly tough year with the Ku Klux Klan rally, the tornadoes, and the shootings in the Oregon district. Of all these things, what do you think Dayton did best? And what do you think could be improved if you were a city commissioner?
Yes, thank you. That is a very important question. And I would truly have to echo that the City of Dayton staff, they did an incredible job given the amount of resources and the time in which we experienced a number of those tragic events that took place in our community. But I will say this, we are not proactive in terms of making sure that we have the right tools and resources in place. We've been acting, and the current administration has been acting reactive. I'll give as you mentioned, the Ku Klux Klan rally. We did spend a significant amount of money, unfortunately. There were other avenues for us to look at besides spending the $625,000 that we spent. True enough that those were the proper precautions that took place to prevent anything from taking place that will harm any of the residents or any of the outside, if you will, individuals that decided to partake in the in opposition to the Klan rally. But again, there were a number of things that we could have done better, i.e. for instance, we could have simply just rejected the call, rejected the application. Now we know that it wasn't necessarily the city's property in which the rally took place, but there's other things that we could have did. We could have actually charged the Klan and the alt-right organization with the cost of the services in which we had to bear. The other thing is, yes, truth be told, the tornado, that was a natural disaster. No one can plan for that. But again, there are other things that we could have put in place, i.e. the $625,000 that we spent on the Klan rally could have perhaps been used to help people rebuild. We've had a issue not only in the city of Dayton, but across the country. Affordable housing is an issue. People are still trying to rebuild. They're still trying to gain the resources so that they can get the pieces back of their life together again. And then lastly, the mass shooting, the police hands down, they responded quickly, swiftly, and we give them much appreciation, and we're very pleased with their response time and their swift action. But again, those different measures, we have to have leadership in place that is proactive to really move us forward.
Thank you, Shanice.
Thank you.
Dave, let me ask you the same question. Dayton has had an incredibly tough year with the Ku Klux Klan rally, tornadoes, and the shootings in the Oregon district. Of all the things that have happened here, what do you think Dayton did best, and what would you like Dayton to improve on?
That's a great question. I am not going to sit here and tell you the city did a great job on any of those things. I'm going to tell you that the community did a great job. Our community, the people that are left in Dayton, have been phenomenal at coming together and showing what Dayton Strong means. Our community is something that's treasured and valued. Not our city government, our people, all of them. I saw people from all walks of life out there cutting trees, clearing things out, helping out. We have a great city. What we don't have is great leadership. Leadership that allowed the Klan to protest where they did was a stupid move. Hard to defend, hard place to do it. We could have found a compromised location for the Klan. With the tornadoes, just remember the water was out for several days. We didn't call in the National Guard to secure the equipment, secure your homes, secure the neighborhoods, or to provide the generators that they have to power our well field. We sat there like we didn't know what to do. And when you talk about what has changed in this community, the real change in this community is what's happened in South Park, my neighborhood, where homes that burn or homes that get foreclosed on come back. They don't get turned into rotted hulks and cost you money to get torn down. And it doesn't happen because of City Hall. In fact, it happens in spite of City Hall. We come together as a neighborhood and we fix up our houses, our neighborhood. This weekend I was spending time cleaning up a storefront at the corner of Wayne and Wyoming, where Dollar General, who pays their CEO $10 million a year, can't afford to do the maintenance. There are people in this community that are committed to making this community a better place, and I want to support them and help them. I don't want to do it by accepting bribes to get things done. That's the way of the culture of corruption, and that's what's been going on for a long time. It needs to stop.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. For our next question, we'll start with Chris. There have been a lot of attention given to the quality of water in the Dayton city, as contaminants in the water are above what some states consider to be safe. What, if anything, can or should be done to improve the quality of water in the city of Dayton?
Thank you for the question. We have very high quality water in Dayton. There's been a lot of misinformation out there about the quality of our water, but it is safe quality water, and that didn't happen by accident. Over the last, of course, actually right before I came on the commission, we increased the number of monitoring wells in our aquifer. And that was important to do in order to build some confidence in our citizenry. PFAS, that is an issue. And we could use help from the federal government, and we've asked for that help. So it's important that we continue to monitor the wells, to continue to do what we can do to remediate PFAS. But all in all, we have very high quality water in this region, and we will continue to do the work to make sure that that is maintained.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right. And then Charisse, let me restate that for you.
Yes.
There's been a lot of attention given to the quality of water in Dayton, as contaminants are above somewhat of what some states consider safe. What, if anything, do you think can be done to improve the water in Dayton? Okay, that's the question.
Yes, thank you. That's a very great question to ask. So there are a number of things that we could be doing better. I agree with you in terms of the question. We do need to make sure that we are checking our levels. We have to make sure that our levels, if you will, they're lower than what the state requires. And as legislators, as commissioners, we need to challenge and encourage those levels to be changed, the EPA toxin levels. We also need to make sure that we have checks and balances in place. We need to make sure that our staff have the tools and the resources that they need to continue to make sure that we do in fact have quality water. And we need to rely on the experts. We have a great staff in place. We need to continue to train and invest in them and make sure that they have the tools and the resources that they need to do so. And we need to do better in investing, making sure that we have backup generators. Again, we have to rely on the experts. We have to increase the EPA toxin levels and provide the resources and tools that we need to continue to have quality water in the city of Dayton.
Okay, thank you, Charisse. Okay, David. There's been a lot of attention given to the quality of water in Dayton, as contaminants in Dayton water are above what some states consider to be safe. What, if anything, can or should be done to improve the quality of water in Dayton?
So if you dial back a whole bunch of years, and the Sherwin-Williams plant burned down, and they just let it burn so the contaminants wouldn't go into the well field. That was the start of the Well Field Protection Act, and Dayton has led the way for years at protecting our water supply. What has happened is our own disaster caused by firefighting chemicals at both the base and the Dayton fire training facility. So we contaminated our own water without knowing it. And the thing is when we don't pull enough water out of the well field, the contaminants start leaching down because the water in the ground comes up. We used to have some major industry in this community that used an awful lot of water, and some of the problems were the commission raised the price of water across the board, including to industrial users, and some of them left. We need to get industrial users back on track and bring the water levels down so that top level contamination doesn't get mixed in with the aquifer down below. And if you look at today's paper on the front page, there's the talk of the Cornerstone development putting undue needs on the water system there and stressing it because they don't have enough water pressure in that community. Water is the most important resource for economic development, and we haven't done a good job of regionalizing an asset. And we need to get all the communities on board to build a truly world-class water system that supplies everywhere cost-effectively and clean water that is coming down from a well field that's being brought in from lower levels because we're using the water at an appropriate rate. Right now, we need to bring back things like Delco that got replaced with a racetrack and a casino because they don't use near as much water. We need to market really hard to find industrial users that are going to suck that water up, pay for it, and create real economic development.
Thank you. Matt,
Yes, ma'am.
there's been a lot of attention given to the quality of water in Dayton, and the contaminants in the water have been seen by some as above what other states would be considered safe. What, if anything, do you think can or should be done to improve the quality of water in the city of Dayton?
That is a good question, as the folks who have answered this already have said. Our water aquifer is one of our best resources. It's one of our most precious resources. It's something that few cities in the country have. So we are dedicated, and we have been for years, to making sure that it's safe, that it's an abundant supply for everybody who needs it, whether it's industrial users or consumers. We test regularly. We publish those tests. We share it with our partners. The fact that the aquifer is a regional asset, it's under a lot of different cities and townships and really counties, means that any response we have to any measure we take to protect the water needs to be regional also in nature. So we joined with all those other jurisdictions to put protections in place. We restrict what kind of activities can take place over the well field. We restrict the amount of chemicals and type of chemicals that can be stored. And we work well with everyone. Everybody knows it's in our interest to have clean water. This most recent contamination by the firefighting foam, PFAS, which was mentioned a couple times already, is not good. We monitor, as Commissioner Shaw mentioned a moment ago, we sunk more monitoring wells a few years ago at the same time that we adjusted the boundaries of our well field to coincide with the new scientific information that we've been gathering over the years about the way that water flows. So we watch the flow of the contaminant. Very little of it has entered our water supply. We are working on ways to mitigate that. In the meantime, the best way to do that would be to get rid of the source. So we're working with the federal government to get rid of the biggest source at the base. We're working on our own sites to make sure that we're mitigating there. And we are dedicated to making sure we continue to provide clean water.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
Mhm.
Okay, this is our last question. And Sharice, we're going to start with you. Downtown Dayton is improving annually with more living spaces, concert venues, restaurants, and breweries. What can be done to improve the lifestyles of residents in Dayton living in the east, west, and north areas?
That is a great question, and thank you very much for posing that question. That is, again, one of the #1 reasons why I'm actually running for Dayton City Commission. We have lacked the balance. We've seen, as you stated, we've seen a lot of great development in downtown in our core. We're very excited about that, but in my household, we use the analogy, if you will, You cannot have a strong core if you have a failing, crumbling shell. And that's exactly what we are experiencing in our neighborhoods from east to west. We have to do a better job. Dayton residents deserve a commission who is willing to have the innovative, out-of-the-box thinking to make sure, again, that we have equitable opportunity and access for each and every one of the residents, all 141,000, right? And so how do we do that? Simple. Community benefits agreement. And I have stressed this as a former City of Dayton employee, made the recommendation with our nonprofit Neighborhoods Over Politics, posed the same recommendation as a candidate in 2017, posed the recommendation, and here we are again. So now the choice is up to our voters to really make sure that we have this to come into fruition. Community benefits agreement says simply this: if you want to do business with us in downtown Dayton or anywhere, then a percentage of those development dollars will pour out into our neighborhoods. Now here's the problem. You can have this language in contracts and agreements all you want, but you have to have enforcement behind it. And new, creative, innovative commission who has those ideals and who's willing to really push that language forward is what the City of Dayton residents deserve. Again, community benefits agreements will allow us to spread the development, to spread the dollars out into our neighborhoods. We have to see that affordable housing is in fact an issue, but we have to start investing in our communities, making sure that we see the same amount of energy, the same amount of dedication in all of our surrounding 65 neighborhoods.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Shanice. We have David. Downtown Dayton is improving annually with more living spaces, concert venues, restaurants, and breweries. What do you think can be done to improve the lifestyles of residents in East, West, and North Dayton?
Well, if there wasn't a thing called Austin Landing or Pentagon Parkway or the development of the Cornerstone, I'd say that Dayton would be doing a lot better downtown and would have never had a problem. The real problem is this community is a dysfunctional array of 30 banana republics with little fiefdoms and little governments that don't work together and cannibalize each other. For all those buildings that filled up at Austin Landing, we have empty buildings downtown. For all the needs for water at the Cornerstone, we have huge areas that have more capacity than we know what to do with. The approach we take to economic development isn't just about the core versus the neighborhoods in the city, it's about the region. And our region hasn't been growing in population. Go look at Columbus and just tell me what's happened there in the last 10 to 15 years. It's been explosive. Look at Cincinnati. The kinds of developments there come from people that are a lot brighter than the ones we've had running our community. And part of the problem is they've been working for themselves first and you second. I plan to put an end to that. If you look at Commissioner Shaw and Commissioner Joseph over their terms, and Commissioner Joseph is asking for his 5th term, look at how many times they've actually voted no on anything or disagreed with anything. It's been universal. Well, this is great, this is wonderful, as they bought buildings for $450,000 with poor people's tax money and given it to rich developers from out of town. This is not development. The only community that can say you used to be able to buy a house for $15,000 that now goes for $200,000 is South Park, where I live. And I learned how to do it there. And I want to bring that same can-do attitude and those same techniques to our entire community, and not just Dayton, the region. It's time to fix this and get things straight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, Matt, downtown Dayton is improving annually with more living spaces, concerts, venues, restaurants, and breweries. What can be done to improve the lifestyles of residents living in the East, West, and North Dayton?
That's a great question. And really, the two answers that come to mind are, first, jobs. Our residents need better jobs and more jobs. But I'm sure Commissioner Shaw is going to talk about that, so I won't step on his foot on that one. And I'll address the other answer to that, which is the plan that's been in place for years has been to work to get more income for the city, income that can be spent on neighborhoods, whether that's paving roads, reinstituting leaf pickup, housing and zoning enforcement, demolition, everything that our neighborhoods are crying out for and need. And the plan is working. We've attracted more jobs downtown. We've attracted more residents downtown. It's the beginning of the plan to make sure that we have a source of income so that we can do everything that our neighborhoods need. We're very proud of the work that we've done. We've worked well with our partners. We love the fact that major announcements are made about developments. We just heard about Mendelssohn's building sale last week. There's going to be great things happening there, and they didn't ask us for a cent. It's wonderful that we don't have to be the ones priming the pump, the ones trying to get things going. It's moving by itself. Finally, we've hit the virtuous cycle of downtown development. And the truth is 70% or more of the dollars that come from those developments goes to neighborhood services. So I think that that's an important thing, that the plan that we've started is working. We look forward to making sure that we continue that and push more resources out to our neighborhoods as they need.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Chris.
Same question.
Downtown Dayton is improving annually with more living spaces, concert venues, restaurants, and breweries. What can be done to improve the lifestyles of residents living in the east, west, and north Dayton areas?
That's right, and thank you for the question. Things are moving as planned in downtown Dayton, and we know that smart economic development does in fact start with the urban core. Commissioner Joseph did mention that 70% of the revenues for the entire city come out of that small geographic area, and the plan is to see that expand out into the outer rings of the community, which we're already seeing happen. So I'm very pleased and proud of the work that we're doing in Dayton. Dayton is a good, strong community, has had the same problems that many other legacy cities in our region and in the Midwest have had to deal with, but we're approaching it from an equitable, smart development framework where we are accounting for the neighbors that are out in the neighborhoods. We want to help them, but we know how that help happens. And it's with a strong urban core that generates out. And that work is happening. So, you know, unlike many of our opponents, I don't believe this gloom and doom. I think that things are moving in the right direction, yes. They are strategic and long-term, and they will take time. But it's starting to happen. It's happening now, and I'm glad about the work that we're doing, and I want to continue to do that same work in the future.
In closing, we'd like to provide each candidate with time for a summary statement, and we're going to start with David.
So you've heard a lot from all the candidates, but what you haven't really heard is that Dayton is doing just great as long as you are a demolition contractor, a large institution that does not pay property taxes like Premier Health, Kettering, or CareSource. You've seen developers come in and spend money, and well, some have required subsidies, some have not, some haven't asked for them. But the reality is, those developers aren't scrambling to buy houses in your neighborhood. They're scrambling to buy houses in my neighborhood. That's the truth. South Park has done great while the rest of the city has not. When we have a house that burns or a house that gets foreclosed on, it comes back. We've seen money wasted on a development for Kroger that never came. We developed a Kroger that closed and sat there and rotted. The fact is, this community is grossly undervalued, and developers would be smart to be buying up properties. But you know what happens then? It's called gentrification. And it squeezes poor people out of their homes. I have a solution for that, but that's a very long answer, so I can't go into it right now. These commissioners have no idea. All they know is they've made a lot of money for the people who keep putting money into their campaign coffers. That's what's happened in the city of Dayton, and it's time to stop it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Matt, we'd like to provide each candidate to provide a summary statement, and it's your turn.
Sure.
Okay.
I, like Commissioner Shaw, I'm very proud of the work that we've done over the last few years. Dayton is a city on the rebound. The rebound hasn't hit everyone yet. It's our goal that it does. I've been focusing in my campaign on three things. The first is making sure that we have good jobs for our folks and more jobs for our folks. The second, that we have the services in the neighborhoods that our citizens deserve and need. And third, that as this recovery goes forward, that it hits every neighborhood equally, that everybody benefits as we go forward. That hasn't always been the case in previous recoveries and very rarely in the previous decades. But we on the commission, this team is focused on making that happen. We are doing things such as guaranteeing and funding quality preschool for all 4-year-olds in the city. We are restoring neighborhood lakes like we did at Lakeside. I'm working on a program now to improve the quality of rental housing. There's a pilot program out there that I'm proud to be working on, and that's a need that many residents have talked about, the fact that the rental housing is substandard and their landlords aren't responsible. So we're working on that now. There's this and many other projects that are underway that I'm excited to work on. I look forward to continuing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Chris, would you like to do a summary statement of your thoughts?
Absolutely. No, just again, I'm very proud of the work that I've been able to do in Dayton with respect to connecting our citizens, especially our youth, with apprenticeship programs and those skills that are required to take advantage of the very high-paying jobs that are out there in our community, 18 to 20,000 of them going unfilled. We have to do better. We have to connect them to these jobs. And I've done things like bringing all of the labor unions together that do work in the apprenticeship space, together with Dayton Public Schools and Sinclair College and others, to funnel, to strengthen the workforce pipeline. I'm very proud of that work, very proud of the work that we're doing in West Dayton and East Dayton. Building capacity for our neighborhoods and our neighborhood associations. It's been really good. The work that we've been doing in downtown Dayton, as Commissioner Joseph mentioned earlier, has turned the corner where we had to kind of prime the pumps. Now that work is being handled by the market, and folks come to Dayton to do development work, especially in downtown, and don't ask for a dime. The money that we spend to prime that pump has been money well spent, because it's leveraged investment that leverages multiple times the amount of money that we put into it for the development in our city. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. I want to continue to do so, so I would ask everyone to vote for me on November 5th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chris. And Shanice?
Yes.
We are finishing with you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, would you like to provide a
I
statement?
would, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. So again, my name is Shanice Turner-Sloss, and we have to do things differently than what we're currently doing. The Dayton City residents, they deserve someone in commission that is willing to treat it as if it is true, what it is. It's a calling. And what we've done for the past decade or two, we've treated it as if it is this symbolic role. We've treated it as a springboard for political ambitions and careers. There's two things that distinguishes me from all of the other candidates. The fact is, yes, I am the only female candidate that is running. And we need to make sure that Dayton residents have, in fact, a commissioner that is willing to represent the demographics in which they're called to serve. And me being the second African-American female elected to commission will, again, speak to how we're servicing the residents in this community. And secondly, none of the other candidates can speak to the fact that they've worked in the city of Dayton. I have the ability to dissect the recommendations that will be made by the city manager as well as the leading department heads. My experience, my passion, speaks to what we need to do and how we need to move the city of Dayton forward for each and every one of the residents. People are losing value. They're losing equity in their homes. We have to do things better than what we're currently doing. And this current administration, they speak about the rebound, but we need to have another team in place to catch that rebound so we can really move the city of Dayton forward. And it takes new innovative thought to do so and new commission. For more information about my candidacy, I challenge each and every one of the voters to visit my website, ShaniceForDayton.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanice. Thank you very much. And thank you all for your participation today. Good luck in your campaigns. The League of Women Voters encourages all candidates to run an issues-based campaign. Our goal is to educate the voting public and strengthen our elective political process. We encourage everyone to vote on November the 5th. The ever-popular League Voters Guide will be available in the libraries and on your doorstep the week of October the 14th. Whether you vote early, absentee, or at the polls, your opinion matters, and your vote is what makes our democracy work. Thank you.